Today, Leisa, we're going to be talking about being the go-to expert. Now, I know in our businesses, we're doing quite a lot at the moment to scale up our own businesses. You've got 5 million leads, we're building 6-figure niche. And I think today, really, we wanted to focus on like helping people understand what being the go-to expert means, how to decide, why it's important, what that kind of means in terms of where you can get that out. So yeah, tell me a bit about what's going on in your business and how you're deciding what your name is as Leisa at 5 million leads, and when you're a go-to expert, what are you a go-to expert in these days?
I think right from the start of my business, I always heard or was advised by other people to really be clear about what you want to be famous for, famous, infamous, whatever you want to say, but essentially what you want to be known for, because once you know that, it makes it easier to communicate that message out to the wider world. And also it makes it easier for other people to talk about you in their social and business circles around. Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's understanding and knowing what you want to be famous for and essentially what you want to be found for. So when and we're not, yes, we're talking searching on Google or whatever, but essentially it's about being really clear about what you do and who you do it for. So I offer a sales service, but actually sales as a category is massive, it's really broad. And I don't profess to be an expert in all elements of the sales process. And in fact, I don't want to be. So
that's really interesting you say that though, because when you say it's really broad, I think to somebody outside of sales, and I know like marketing and sales obviously dovetails really nicely, but when I think outside of sales, I don't see it as like really big. So because you're in the industry and you see like, oh, there's all these different types of like areas that you can excel in sales. I'd love to. Can you tell me a bit more about those, like the types of sales?
So I think we've touched on it, haven't we, in our first series? But I think the part of the sales process that my business focuses on is the lead generation part of the process, which is the very start of the process. Yeah. And in my head and in my thinking and world, sales is sales, i.e. I've got a product or a service, do you want to buy it? But as you move through, you can get more deeply into the negotiating part of sales. And I think that's the area that we just don't go into.
Got you.
And for me, this comes back to what we talked around hunters and farmers in terms of two types of salespeople.
And also you're making me think about when you said about there's the meal, the
starter, the main course and the dessert. So
you're at the starter
we're
section.
The starter. So we whet the appetite.
Yeah.
We
open doors.
Exactly. Then the main course is then, right, let's put the meat on the bones, which we do as well. And that is about messaging and making it clear, you know, what am I selling and who am I selling it to? Mm-hmm. But the dessert is very much around the close. So the close, you know, getting the deal. So yes, I'm not saying I'm not saying that we don't do that in its entirety, but actually what we want to be known for and what we want to be the experts in is lead generation, which actually as a term in itself, I don't like, but I recognize that in the wider world of business, that is a term that is known and understood. So actually I lean into that.
Yeah, your target audience resonates with that more. Therefore, they're picking up on that, or they might be searching on Google looking for lead generation in Nottinghamshire or UK or Midlands, and then they're finding you that way.
Because if you just type in sales, it's massive. It's so broad.
Got you. Okay.
So actually, you can have a term, which is sales, but what part of that term do you really want to be the expert in? And I know that we have talked about that before in terms of, you know, getting deeper under the surface so that you narrow down into the niche. And that comes back to your question around this is what we want to be known for. Yeah. So in conversations, and this definitely happens all the time when somebody says, I need somebody to generate leads for me. Oh, you need to go and speak to Leisa.
And that brings us neatly onto the awards that we've got here. And the awards were the kind of catalyst for us starting the podcast in the very first place. But as we were setting up, you said, oh, this is interesting. My award says sales, but actually I'm lead generation. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because even then when applying for awards in future, you'd be thinking, where are lead generation awards, or how can I get my name down so that people are associating me with lead generation more than sales in its entirety?
And yeah, I think you can start to talk yourself out of things, when you say, I want to be known for lead generation, but hold on a minute, you just won an award for sales. And then I feel the need then to respond by saying, oh no, actually I do sales. I just prefer to offer a service focusing on a very specific part of the sales process. And I think that's the difference. The difference is, who do I want to attract to my business, which ultimately become our customers? I want to attract those who are looking for a lead generation service. And, when it comes to mentoring and advice and support, obviously that incorporates much more of the process than just the lead generation part of it. But in terms of who we serve businesses looking for a lead generation process.
And it's interesting that this is something that evolves, isn't it? It's not just something that you wake up one day and it's like, this is a new badge that you wear. Leisa Pickles, head of lead generation. It's not like something people can give us. It's almost a feeling we create and have to sit with a little bit before we then put it out there. Would you agree?
And I think there is a phrase, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's about saying it out loud. So I think the more you say it out loud, the more you start to believe it yourself, and also start to say, oh no, actually that is what I want to be known for. And I think this is where, what we're doing now through podcasting, through video, the more you start to speak it, the more real it becomes and the more recognised and known you become for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. It's almost like a circular.
Yeah. And we've talked specifically for this episode about, and this is definitely probably more leaning towards your expertise of marketing, around persistent and consistent messaging. So you've definitely talked about that before in terms of touch points and the number of times people need to see you.
7 or 8 times on average.
Yeah. So expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to when you know where your passion lies, when you know who your target audience is and that resonates, when you know if you've productized your services or if you've got products, when all of that has been decided and then you're working on your pricing, when you know these things and feel comfortable with them, it's then understanding which touch points are going to resonate with those customers to be able to get that message across. And this is where the 7 or 8 times on average comes in. So having that consistency of message and persistency of continually saying the same thing, sometimes in a different way, through those channels, and sometimes saying the same thing. Let's say you might have an announcement to put out. It might go out on 3 different social media channels at the same time. There's that consistency, and then that persistent messaging of saying the same thing to reiterate, so that they're hearing it 7 or 8 times. And as we've said on a previous podcast, it's probably more times that they need to hear it if you're selling a Ferrari and less times if you're selling a pen. I think it was called the Green Pen episode. Yeah. We'll have to look that out and put it in the show notes and say which one it was. But yeah, having that consistency and persistency is crucial, because there's one thing deciding I am going to be this, and there's another thing other people then starting to understand that change that might have happened, or that evolution of role. And I think if you're turning up at networking, saying the same thing about somebody who'll sit next to you and say, oh, so what do you do? Saying the same thing so that then they can repeat what you've said to other people when it's appropriate.
Because also that it's wrong to make the assumption that everyone is going to see everything that you communicate all the time. So actually sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel a bit like, gosh, I'm repeating myself, because I'm thinking, I only just said that, or I this is exactly what I shared last week or 2 days ago. But that's a wrong assumption to make.
Definitely.
Because that's assuming that the person who saw it 2 days ago is also, and actually, so what? And actually, that's good, isn't it?
It is. It reaffirms the first message. But like you say, if you're thinking about like algorithms on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, that not everybody will see that same message that you've put out. So somebody might see the second one and they've not even seen the first one. So being able to put that out regular.
And I'd just like to expand on, you mentioned LinkedIn, which is definitely my social media platform of preference.
Me too right now.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just so much more positive.
Yeah, and I speak to people a lot about the power of LinkedIn, and it seems to be a platform that a lot of people are a bit scared of, because I think they overthink it in terms of how professional they're supposed to be, or it's a bit more serious. But I always say to people, if the best thing you can do, if you're feeling a little bit hesitant in terms of, jumping straight into it, is just start to like and comment on other people's content. But the caveat to that is that you need to have a really clear descriptor in your profile that says exactly what you do. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people put, I help small business owners, blah, 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 blah.
And it can be very long.
Yeah. But that doesn't show up. So on mine, it says lead generation / new business development / prospecting. And that is intentional, because when I then like and comment on other people's posts, the person seeing that sees Leisa Pickles, lead generation, new business development, prospecting.
Yeah.
So I think, this is what we're talking about today, being really clear and intentional about what you want to be the go-to expert for, so that it helps you communicate that out to more people.
And I think it is having those 2 or 3 words, phrases, or short phrases that really encapsulate it, because sometimes if you just say one thing, it could limit you to that. But other times, if you're saying too much, it muddies the water and people don't know what they're referring you for.
And I think as well, it's important to remember that it's not always about you. It's most definitely about them. So terms that your target audience and ideal clients will identify with, rather than the ones that, for example, I call myself chief go-getter at Find Me the Leads, just because I think that's funny, and also because I'm trying to be a little bit, I don't want to give myself, like a stuffy corporate title.
Yeah.
But I know in certain instances, I would describe myself as a company director or a founder, because that's what that audience identifies with. And also that's what they're going to search for. They're not going to search for, show me chief go-getters in Nottinghamshire. So I think sometimes you do have to very much put yourself in their shoes in terms of defining your area of expertise. And I know that you're a massive fan of the tool Answer the Public.
Yes!
So talk us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I don't know how I came across it. It's probably, it must have been like about a year ago. But it's some software created by Neil Patel. And you can have 3, at the moment, you can have 3 free searches. So for example, we're just in the middle of launching 6-figure niche. If I put in 6-figure business or finding my niche, when I then look at what those responses are that come out, what it gives me is what people are searching for in Google or other places as well. But if I know what people are searching for, I can then create blogs for those. I can create content for those. I can start to really think about, I didn't realize there's 6-figure business mentor. Hadn't really thought about calling myself that. There's all these things that are starting to kind of come out of the woodwork that are kind of unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know sometimes. And by using Answer the Public, I just find it's a really great free tool. I mean, obviously you can have the paid version and delve a lot deeper. And I quite like a lot of the stuff that Neil Patel does, a lot of the SEO stuff, helping websites to get found more. He has a lot of free courses. And I just think by delving into Answer the Public, if anybody's listened to this and hasn't had a go, just Google Answer the Public, just put a couple of keywords in and just start to kind of delve. It'll give you like circles with words like how many or how or when, or it'll really start with different prepositions to give you what things you hadn't considered. I just love it. Yeah.
And it's a fantastic tool for rephrasing and rethinking how you put your content out to the world, because we're all trying to be found, aren't we, for what we do? And actually, what better way to get found than by specifically answering the questions that your audience are looking for the answers to?
That the most people are looking for.
It sounds so obvious.
Well, that then powered with using OpenAI, ChatGPT, or I've started using Perplexity.ai as well. You can then use that, put that in and say, please write me a blog post about such and such, being a 6-figure business mentor, and then see what comes out. Obviously, you're not going to copy and paste that into your website. That's a given. But it'll then give you a framework for, this is what 500 words will look like. These are what some of the side subtitles might be. And it really just, by being able to use those two pieces of software, you can, like you said earlier, I need to write a blog about that. I need to write a blog about that. Sometimes we stop ourselves because we think something's going to be too hard. But actually, by using those two pieces together, within half an hour, you can have something created that then all you need to do is go in and put your own tone of voice and change words and maybe just, change some paragraphs around and just have a play with it after that and then upload it and it's done.
So we talked a bit sort of earlier before we started recording about what happens when you change. Like what happens if you decide that actually I don't want to be known for that anymore because my business has, evolved, scaled up, changed direction. Is it back to the drawing board or how do you start to re-communicate your new area of expertise?
Sometimes I feel like the transformation queen. I feel like I've had so many different...
Like a chameleon.
When I've had the coffee shop, when I've worked for different businesses, setting up my own businesses, I feel like I've zigzagged between corporate and entrepreneurship. So I think people will go along with the flow with whatever you tell them you're doing. And if you meet somebody new once you've changed, that's all they've ever known. It's a bit like me changing my surname to Taylor. When I meet people now and I say, my name's Victoria Taylor, they hear that and that's all they've ever known.
Yeah.
So there'll be people that hear it afterwards that it's not a deal. There are also people that are within your audience that you need to get the message out to them that something's changed. And I think the biggest thing around changing what we do and changing our titles is that there is a lot of time and energy involved. It's a bit like changing your branding. If you wanted to change your brand colours or if you wanted to change your target audience because you're like, actually, I'm going to shift from targeting these over to these. So by changing your name, it's totally doable. It's something that you could either think over time, I'm going to change it from I'm going to be this to I'm going to be this, but change it incrementally. Or overnight. So, for example, we've changed our name on Instagram this week. We've gone from being Touchpoints Marketing to 6-figure niche with underscores in between. And sometimes you've just got to bite the bullet. Sometimes, what's the point in waiting?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we've put messages on to say, we're changing our name. We've put stories out. It's even in our description that it says, Vic and Angela from Touchpoints Marketing. So there's a relation back to Touchpoints Marketing, but now it's starting to become, not that Touchpoints Marketing is becoming 6-figure niche, but 6-figure niche is a service within Touchpoints Marketing. And it gives us a platform to talk about something really specific to that specific target audience.
And I suppose it takes a while for you to grow into it, but it also takes a while for you to re-educate your audience that actually, now you are known for and are becoming an expert in and want to be known for delivering this particular product or service. And I think you're right. I mean, that's why we're small. That's one of the beauties of being a small business is that you just, what's the worst that could happen? Just change. If it's not right, just change it. And I think, we don't have to go through the whole, rigmarole of corporate, etc. So no, I want to be known for this, so I'm going to go all in and change it. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But going back to LinkedIn, when you said, when we've got things on here on our awards that say sales and marketing strategist, what I've started to put out there now in terms of my LinkedIn profile is marketing educator.
Yeah.
Because yes, 6-figure niche helps business owners to get to 6-figure turnover. That's through marketing education. But also we've got our Marketing Mavericks program that we take into universities, and that's helping students to understand how to go freelance. And so by then connecting these two groups of people, I feel like what we're doing is building businesses and connecting them together. And that's what it says on our website at the moment on Touchpoints Marketing. But this marketing educator is really where I feel making inroads into helping people to see marketing differently.
And that's a very specific role that you play within your business in terms of taking the knowledge and skills and expertise that you've grown over time and actually empowering other people to embrace their own marketing. And, hence the Scale Up Your Sales and Marketing podcast. We're here to hopefully inspire people to, break it down, take control and just crack on and, deliver their own sales and marketing processes that are relevant and right to their businesses.
Yeah, and by taking snippets from this, there's always free help from us. You can get in touch with us on our podcast, on our Instagram, Scale Up Podcast, and you can always send us a DM if you've got any questions that we can help you with. Please do.